1st? No, I don't think it's March.
No, March 5th.
Friday, March 5th, 2021. Hello, I'm Candid Stanisci of Open Forum. Welcome to the Spanglish World Network on Zingo TV, channel 250. Please remember to download the Zingo TV app at the respective app stores for iOS and Android devices. While you download, make sure you rate and leave a comment. Both apps are absolutely free. Zingo TV is available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire TV sticks, Roku sticks, and also on all smart TVs, 2016 forward. Now on our Open Forum, joining me is the Toronto City Councillor for Ward 22, Scarborough Agincourt, Nicholas Montos. Nicholas, welcome to the program, or Councillor Montos, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Frank. Thank you to, good afternoon to everyone listening or watching all across Canada, and I, from what I believe, all across the world.
Yes, it's something available, as you know, nowadays. Everything's kind of available all over the place. We are no longer, strangers in countries of other countries. We're now in contact with everybody at a moment's notice. Everybody hears from everybody immediately. There's hardly a break in the action, if you will. So I wanted to have you on. We enjoy talking to politicians. Now, I told you while we were off, I was like, maybe we'll find some hardcore questions. That's part of why we're here. But the real reason we're here is you are an important function in our community, and that is, we talked about the world in the context of your character and how your character came to be. What do you attribute who you are today to where you arrived here today? What exactly, aside, we'll get into the specifics, but from your perspective.
It's been a long journey. I started in federal politics in 2006. And at that time, I was a university student at York University studying economics. And I got the opportunity to volunteer for, at that time, MP Jim Carey-Janis, who was the MP here in Scarborough Agincourt. And after volunteering and working over the summer, I was offered a job in his constituency office. And that's how my work in politics started.
Now, you have spent a lot of time in the community, and you're a big part of the Greek community. You are a very proud member of the Greek community. Tell us a little bit about that and how that helps you to be, more than just helpful with Greeks, but with other cultures that find themselves in your community.
So as a Greek Canadian, I was born here in Toronto. In 1983, I've been a member of the extended Greek community over the years. I've worked with the Hellenic Canadian Board of Trade, the Pan-Arcadian Federation of Canada, that I've been the chairman of for many years, and I've been volunteering and helping all Canadians all across the country, and doing work also internationally of volunteering and helping for different causes.
Tell me a little bit about the Pan-Arcadian Federation.
The Pan-Arcadian Federation is a nonprofit organization across Canada. We have 20 chapters, and it is an association that promotes Hellenic Canadian values, as well as values and the history of our area of Arcadia. Arcadia is a province in the southern Peloponnese in Greece, where here in Canada, we have about 15,000 members in our organization.
Now, it's an international organization.
It's an international organization as well. There are federations in the United States, Australia, in Europe, and in Greece.
And to what end are you a member of that group? If someone wanted to understand what you do, what are the goals of that organization?
the goals of the organization is to promote Canadian and Greek values, teach children Greek, Hellenic Greek history and the history of Arcadia, as well as to promote Canada on the international stage, so to the other countries that we are also affiliated with.
Is Greektown in your area?
No,
No.
Greektown is in the Danforth.
Would you be willing to talk about Greektown and how that is a great example of ethnic groups coming in? If you're a believer, I think you're a liberal. And if you're a liberal, your history goes back to Pierre Elliott Trudeau. Pierre Elliott Trudeau believed not in the boiling pot, but in the quilt. Do you
Yes.
agree? And is that
Canada is a mosaic? Yes. If that was the term, yes. Canada is a mosaic. It's a mosaic of different cultures, different ethnicities, and we all have to work together and celebrate what we have common and celebrate our differences, right? And to move forward as one community.
I was born here. My parents came from Italy, so I understand about a strong culture. The Greek culture is a very strong culture, has a deep history, just as the Italian culture does, and every other culture from their own perspective. They all have there's a deepness to it.
Absolutely.
And within that deepness come lessons and things that you learn and ways of dealing with things. Is that what makes Toronto a better place? And I don't want other people outside Toronto to get the impression I'm saying people in Toronto are better. That isn't what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is the interrelationship, the micro world atmosphere there. How does that make Toronto better in their own sense? And I don't mean better than anywhere else, but how does it make the city of Toronto better? What improvements does it make?
I see what you're trying to say, Frank. And so, Toronto has different neighborhoods. We have Little Italy, we have Greektown, we have Little India on Gerrard Street. We have Chinatown. We have all the different communities in different parts of the city. What is great about that is that we are able to experience the different cultures and the different cultures in our city. Let's say today I want by going to ethnic gatherings, going to our restaurants, and specifically now with COVID, trying to promote our local businesses, right, which have been hit the hardest, especially with the lockdown. So the good thing is that we are able to experience different cultures, celebrate them, and understand, and also work together with all our fellow Torontonians all together.
Yeah, we have as we also do sports here on Spanglish Sports World. We also do that, and what a lot of athletes like basketball players and athletes from around the world, they're always impressed. And I hate to bring it down to one level. It's more complicated than what I'm going to say right now. But you can eat anything anywhere in Toronto. That essentially is the biggest benefit. If someone wants to eat something, they'll come to Toronto. They'll eat, and it'll be as close to the original, to the version, as we said, deep in culture and deep in the original way food is presented.
Deep in culture and deep in tradition.
Absolutely. And it's and the reason I talk to you about that is because I noticed in researching you're very proud of being Greek. We live in a world today where for the most part we hear too much bad news. What makes it easy for your people in your community, and how do you see from your position the interrelationship of all the different ethnic groups and what your contribution to making that a better place where you are an agent court, Scarborough Agent Court?
The unique thing is that in Scarborough Agincourt, we have many ethnicities. It's and as we said, it's the mosaic. The largest community in Scarborough Agincourt is the Chinese community, with almost 53% of the population in Scarborough Agincourt. But being able to, because of my former work, when as I was working for the previous MP, and he was also the chair for multiculturalism and community outreach. I was able, with my work, to experience all the different cultures and understand and appreciate the history of all the communities and how they came to Canada, how they have grown and be great ambassadors of their culture in Canada and abroad, and how we've all together made Canada a better place for us and our children to live.
I don't believe in at this moment in this conversation, in the context that we're speaking. I don't want to raise names of groups within the country. We're all aware of them that are negative and are not pro, multicultural. They're the opposite. As a politician, how do you feel about society, the government, the powers that be? How do we deal, and how do you feel as here in Toronto? How do you feel we should deal with the people who lack the ability or desire to understand their neighbor?
At the end of the day, the only thing that we can do is respect everyone's opinions, and then move on and try to do good. As long as we all try to do something positive, a little bit more positive than we did yesterday, we're all going to move together and move in a positive manner. So that's all that you could expect. At the end, you can only do as much as you can and the good that you can do. After that, it's higher powers above.
Yeah, well, if it don't fit, don't force it. Do your best that you can, and that's fair enough. That's fair enough. Your answer is fair enough. You had a chance to work with Jim Carey-Janis.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about what you learned from working with that counselor, and of course, a member of the Senate as well. And you were there with him.
Well, Jim Carey-Janis has been. I wouldn't. He would never be considered as a boss. You always worked with Jim Carey-Janis. You never worked for Jim Carey-Janis. I've learned many lessons from Jimmy. He has a work ethic that I haven't seen for anyone. The constituent always comes first, and he always tries to advocate for the best of his constituents. Jimmy, a person that has been around for over 40 years in politics, I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot of how to be in my role, taking all the positives and moving forward for the best of our constituents, for the best of our neighbors.
How do you and your staff work with the community, and serve the community? How do you feel the best that you do in performing that responsibility that you and your staff have? How would you respond to what does Mr. Montos do, Councillor Montos do, to make the community more a participator in what's going on?
So just being elected for a month now, I have said, and I will, and as I am saying, my door is always open. Call, email, you will always get a response back in 24 hours. Right now, because we're trying to move forward, even with COVID and afterwards, I want to hear your opinion. I want to hear your ideas and how we can use those ideas to move forward. Communication is key, and being a member, not only as an elected official, but also being a member of this community, because I live in Scarborough Agincourt. everyone's a neighbor. So let's all work together and try to move Scarborough Age Court in a more positive and a better place to live.
You have you have a position. You're in government today. It seems more and more. It's not just 10 years ago we would have talked about the animosity between parties as oh no, we're going down this road. It's terrible how how the animosity has grown between parties. You now are a parliamentarian or a civic counselor. You're in civic politics in general, where now you even have to battle small groups that are negative. The media, sometimes people in my position who are more predisposed to have opinions rather than ask questions. As a new politician, do you come with the knowledge of where that's at and how you can deal with it?
Well, as a newly politician, because of my background before, for the 15 years of experience of working in both municipal and in the federal level, I understand how there could be tensions and how you have to find the middle ground and able to understand everyone to be able to work together. Now, the good thing in civic politics is that there's no political parties. Yes, people have their own opinions and ways of seeing in the political spectrum, but there are no political parties. At the end of the day, it's all about ideas. How do we take an idea? It doesn't matter if it's a centrist, left, right. If the idea works, let's all come together and try to make this idea a reality. If it's for the benefit of the people, let's make it happen. So there is no in the sense political where in the political spectrum do you belong. For me, it's all about ideas. Can it work? If it works, let's do it. If it doesn't work, then let's find something else.
Do you find that there might be a trap there, that people's patience might not be at a level that you need it to be?
I
When
mean,
it
with
comes
everyone that with everyone with everything that is happening these days, everyone's patience is a little bit less than what it used to be. Right?
exactly.
That's reality. But at the same time, there has to be understanding, and because of the situation, because of COVID and where we are at the moment, I would say everyone should have a little bit more patience and a little bit more understanding for his fellow person.
When you talk about you know looking at Toronto as a community,
Yes.
we look at the city of Toronto as a place that I want to say that it's not liked by other parts of the country. What would you say to the other parts of the country that have this negative attitude about Toronto? Because they do. What would you say to them to help them to understand that you need not fear Toronto? You need not feel Toronto's less or more than you, to make them feel as though Toronto has a lot in common with some of those other cities that think Toronto is, in some cases, a problem. Which you've been in federal politics. It is quite an interesting situation that we have in this country today.
I wouldn't say that Toronto is a problem. Toronto is a city. It's one of the largest largest city in Canada, one of the largest cities in North America. Uh, Toronto, just like Montreal, Vancouver, they all have their uniquenesses to them. They have everyone has different abilities, and we all have to use those abilities that we have and our resources to be able to move forward as society. People in Toronto and in the GTA, Toronto is a very, I would say, right now, tech and oriented city or region, and we just have to expand on what we are good at and move forward as a
Yeah, I was
city.
just referring to, as a person who goes across the country myself, I hear lots of people talk about Toronto. And as I was born in Toronto, I take it almost personally that they misjudge Toronto a lot. I base it a lot, and this is my opinion. I'm not putting this on you or anyone else. Toronto's such a big city. Sometimes there's an inherent jealousy from areas where Toronto gets all this attention. You know, that we have all the major league teams, all this kind of stuff. Is there a humility? I guess I didn't ask the question the right way. Do you, can you express a humility that Toronto has that maybe, you know, that it belies the fact that it's a big city?
Well, I believe that there is humility. It's just that because it's a big city, people might see you in a different way. Oh, he comes from a big city. Well, it is what it is. I mean, being here, living here almost my entire life. I mean, you live in a big city. It's what you know. So just like when you go to another city or to a town, that's what they know. I mean, it's everyone in general lives, um, works in a 30-kilometer radius. That most likely they will be living or working in that area for 90% of their time. I mean, that's reality. That's statistics.
To talk about some issues, the city doesn't have a direct connection to working, you know, with the education system in Ontario. But more and more over the past few years, the city of Toronto, especially under this mayor, this council, has offered help in helping to make the education system in the metro area more compatible, not that it isn't compatible, more compatible with the existence of what Toronto really is. In other words, the council and the mayor are the boots on the ground when it comes to education. The education system, I know that you know, Toronto has the provincial seat here, but still, your group, councillors and the people within City Hall, you have some views that you're aware of because you're in the community. How well is that going? I understand there's some interaction going on in the province, willing to listen, and you all are in council are more than willing to help with opinions like you were referring to. Let's work together. Tell me what you think, and that also transcends, you know, provincial and city politics. Yes.
City, municipal, provincial, and federal, and at the local school level. I mean, you have to work together if you want your schools to have better schools, better funded schools. Well, the school trustee, the municipal councillor, and the provincial MPP have to work together for the better outcome of the children in your community. I mean, right now we have schools that we need to put traffic mitigation measures. Right. So we are working with our local school principals, PTAs, the MPP of the area, and also the school trustee to make sure that we have the traffic calming measures and for Vision Zero implemented in our schools. And right now we're looking for the rest. So we have 18 more schools to complete, and we're looking to have them completed by the end of term of 2022. So yes, you have to work together. If all levels of government have to work together.
Yeah, and the efficiency and effectiveness of the education system in Ontario and in Toronto in particular, it is something that you can help with. You know, you have also, we discussed the ethnic background of Toronto and how it's so diverse. It also means that the education system might have some tweaks that you can help the provincial government to see, to acknowledge, and to do something about. You know, you have different, just as far as the education system is concerned, your input to make it more effective so that it reaches more students on a level that they can become more, it can be more beneficial for them. Do you have that? Do you have that in between the city and the province?
Between the city and the province, we do have that.
Yeah.
We have
how does that show itself?
Well, right. I can only speak about myself. For myself, I have an excellent relationship with the MPP. We speak at least once a week on the phone. Any issues that we have that are municipally related, provincially related, we will share information because we help our constituents. If it's a provincial matter, I will send it to the MPP, and if it's a municipal matter, the MPP will send the constituent to our office. So there's an excellent relationship between both level, and actually all three levels of government, and with the federal member. And we try to assist everyone to move forward.
I guess a way that I can ask it is, take for example, you have a deep Chinese community, right? The education system for a Chinese family, including immigrants that come to this country, there's an assistance and a help that's there that the province offers that I've looked into, mainly because of the city's input and helping them, the province, to understand the special needs that might be necessary in Toronto. Is that part of the conversation you have with the local MPP?
It is part of the conversation. We are also trying to we're also trying to include in the curriculum of having in the history curriculum to be able to recognize also different genocides that have happened around the world, and to be able to have our children understand and know what these countries and what these ethnic groups went through during their parts of history and their periods in history.
Do you find
So
that
that's also,
no, I'm sorry, go ahead.
but that's also a one little part in the curriculum, that you have to know your roots and you have to know the past to be able to not make the same mistakes, as they say, so that way history doesn't repeat itself as we see in the world.
I have an opinion on that, but I'm gonna tread lightly with my opinion. There are some who suggest sometimes we try to tell our children too much, and it's too much for them to handle. And there are some who suggest that we're teaching our children things that maybe they're too young to understand, or we're asking them to understand something that they're not ready to understand. Is there any fear when you're dealing with that kind of education, teaching children about it, other than, I'm not talking about, the diversity and the compassion you have for people. I'm not talking about any of that stuff. What I'm talking about is the stark nature of, like you said, tragedies around the world. It's almost, to me, it almost seems like it's sad to talk to children about that, because it's something that I would hope they wouldn't have to even know about, that they don't have to erase it from your mind. As a person who understands therapy and that kind of stuff, it's unringing a bell. Do you have any concerns that maybe you're telling them too much? And I tried justifying my question.
You don't have to tell them too much. You just have to, depending on the age group, you have to know how much you can say to someone. Like, you're not going to be saying depending on the matter, is you have to make them understand in simple terms. And as they grow up and they're interested in that subject matter, they will learn more deeply in that subject.
Yeah, this is
just like in history. You learn history in grade, let's say in grade 5, you're learning history at a very let's say at a light understanding of the subject. And then when you grow up, and let's say you want to, in high school, you learn a little bit more deeper of the subject, and then when you go to university, that's when if you're still interested in that subject matter, you're going to dive deep into the matter, and you're going to find out what were the specifics. But when you're young, you learn in general terms.
The reason I say it fits into the conversation we were having, and as because I'm grateful that you've had the opportunity to work federally and also municipally, because there is a skew, a difference between both sides of politics, and the bridge between, as I was saying, to maintain the theme of what we were just talking about, teaching children things that maybe parents are concerned about. As a counselor, you know, when parents come to you and say, you know, I'm not sure I want my children to learn that much. How do you help parents understand that sometimes is there a process so that when, you know, concerned parents come to you and say, you know, I'm not sure I want my kids. You know how parents are sometimes. They're so sheltering of their children. How do you deal with the challenge of them sheltering their children, and you being in a position where you know, through your connections, through government, through psychologists, through all the, you know, you don't just make a decision based on how you feel today. You're right. You make your decisions based on the research and the understanding of data and facts and such. How do you relay that to the concerns of parents that come to you?
The decision. Now, I haven't had a situation like that when it comes to um, assisting. It depends on the subject matter, but I mean, in general, um, if people, if families have certain, if them to the person that is able to um, guide them in the best way.
It's a challenge, you know.
It's a challenge. It is a challenge.
As a parent, I had 4 children going to school, and but that was a few years ago. Now it seems I hear all these things. We hear about these situations where parents are fighting back at what schools are trying to do. You know, people want. It almost seems as though people are stuck in their opinion more today than they've ever been. And as a young acting politician, I understand your background. Do you feel that knowledge and coming from the outside, moving in, has helped you?
Yes, absolutely. It's helped me in the way I understand the mechanics of government. I understand how government works, and trying to navigate through the political system. You have to have a knowledge of who is the right person to go to be able to get the best outcome for your resident and in
Yeah,
the most efficient way.
and the education system. Let's not mince words here. It's a $7.2 billion not business, but a responsibility with 100,000 employees. This is not a small group of people.
But it doesn't, but no, it does, it's not, but it doesn't fall under my jurisdiction. It falls under the school trustee, the TDSB board, and it falls under the provincial government. So I don't have any immediate um like working in the sense of trying to assist, because even if it was myself, I would guide them to their local school trustee or to the local MPP.
And there's one of the answers I was looking for. At the end of the day, you can be a bridge in those circumstances so that
That's
people.
it. That's all I can do. I can't provide them with the information because I don't have the information because it's not part of um, my working job of what we do as a municipal councilor and as a municipal government. The only thing I can do is guide them to go to the people that are in charge to assist them.
But they do come to you with questions about.
They do come with questions, of course. They come with people come with many questions. We have provincial questions, municipal questions, federal questions, and then I tell them, look, it's a federal matter. You have to go to your federal MP, and I'll give them the phone number and the email of the person in charge, or actually call the MP and say, we have a constituent that's going to be calling you.
Another issue in Toronto that Toronto has taken on is climate change. The mayor,
Yes.
2019, council acted on something. Explain to us how how the city can make the contribution specifically to climate change and, you know, of lowering our carbon footprint.
So every city, every city needs to right now to we need to lower our carbon footprint. That's a given fact. After since the UN protocol and the United Nations agreement that we've had on the environment, every city needs to bring down, every country needs to bring down their emissions. Now, Toronto has said that we will try to be a net zero carbon city by 2050, and we're moving in certain ways to be able to make that possible. Now, when it comes to the municipal level, we also have to work to see how our local areas and our city, how we can we are able to move or to be transported around the city with less car. As we see, the congestion in our cities is horrific. I mean, it takes you an hour to go from one side of the city to the other, where before it could have been, even now with the COVID, you'll see that it's a 25 to 30-minute ride because of traffic. We have to move from a car city to a transportation city where we're using public transit, we're using, yes, we're using bicycles, we're walking, but we have to make everything accessible in our local communities. So instead of having to drive so far away to be able to go to your supermarket, go to a local coffee shop, or being able to go to your local restaurant or to the bank, we have to create our cities in a way that we're able to walk and being able to have a healthier lifestyle. As we see in Europe, everything is a 5-10 minute walk. You can go to your local grocer, you're going to your baker, you're going to the bank, and everyone knows each other. There has to be a better sense of community, in the sense where you know your neighbor. Because right now, yes, we know certain people around, but we don't know everyone in our neighborhood like we probably did 30 or 40 years ago, where you would play on the street and you knew a little Mikey that lived 30 homes down because everyone played together. So it's a sense of community that we have to bring back.
It's difficult, especially because from your position, a municipal position, you can't you can't legislate people into climate change acceptance. It's more or less a function of what you can do within the limitations that you have, being in the position you're in. But you have to do something, and that's what this is all about, right?
So I would like to see is getting ideas of how to function our city into even a 15-minute city where you can literally live, work, and play in a 15-minute ride. Is it either by foot, by car, or even by bicycle?
It's no coincidence called Transform TO, right? Because
Right?
that's what it's got to be. It's got to be a transformation, and every transformation, requires a beginning and an end. It's how you get there that's the difficult.
Exactly.
Sell-
Exactly.
Selling it to people is very difficult because of many reasons, and they're becoming more and more clear as time marches on. One of the biggest concerns, and this isn't your concern, this is a federal and provincial concern. It's about jobs. It's about this. It's about that. It's about a carbon tax. For you, for Toronto, people have to understand, and if you can agree or disagree with me,
Mhm.
have a bubble above you. You do have a carbon footprint that can help if Torontonians do their share and are committed to it. Their environment gets better, doesn't it? And part of the reason of why you're saying it used to take X and now it takes an hour or a half hour to go the same distance. The longer you're in the car, the bigger the carbon footprint. In other words, the more pollution you drive
Mhm.
in the air. So if you could figure out how to make people not use cars, not need cars, how much of a give me an example of the kind of influence you can have as a municipal statesman as opposed to a provincial or federal one.
Well, you're trying to revitalize your areas, bring business, bring companies into your areas. So what you can do is the city needs to also have other incentives to be able to attract businesses in other areas, not have them all downtown. They could be have more and different kind of businesses in Scarborough, have them in Etobicoke, North York. I mean, there has to be jobs that are more local for the people, more companies in the suburbs, because that's where also most of the people live, and to be able to, so that way they don't have to commute as far.
Tell me about something a little more relaxed. Tell me about entertainment in your community. If I asked you, what is there to do in 22? What is
In
there
20,
for 22?
in 22, we have our water park, which is at Kidstown. We have one of the largest water parks in the city, at Birchmount and north of Finch. We have the Lamoureux Community Center. We are right now. We have other facilities, basketball. We have our basketball hoops. We have our soccer fields, our baseball diamonds. We all go to. Right now, we're actually looking into bringing 2 ice rinks, hopefully next year, next winter, into Scarborough Agincourt, working with with Toronto Parks to be able to have them operational in Ward 22. And we're trying right now to
Outdoor or indoor skating?
Outdoor, Frank, outdoor.
I just wanted to clarify that because it makes
Yes, it makes a big difference. Yes, it does. It does. We're trying to bring 2 outdoor rinks into Scarborough Agincourt and to revamp our parks.
You know, that'll be my segue now. Now we'll talk about COVID a little bit. I wanted to make sure we were towards the end of the program, so we didn't spend too much time on it, because it is the herd of elephants in the room. It is such an imposing problem, isn't it?
It's a situation that, well, for this pandemic, I mean, we haven't seen it since the Spanish flu. Most of us haven't even experienced a pandemic in our lifetimes, right? And we all now have to do our bit to be able to, for all of us to be healthy and safe with our families, and to move our economy forward. Right now, the vaccine is going to be implemented in our city starting next week, after the 15th, and starting with ages 80 plus and 80 years plus, and going into phase 2 and phase 3. So we all have to support our local businesses, and try to move together as a community, everyone together.
Yeah, my mother's 95. She lives in North York, not in your ward. She has an appointment to get jabbed, and she's actually looking forward to it. And it is so important that we, as a community, you as a politician, I as someone who interviews people and does a little bit of broadcasting, and everyone else, to try and find the positive. Not, it's obvious the needle is a positive, but the positive impact that we can have. I don't want to fake, there's silver lining. COVID brought us the silver lining. We can talk about that a little bit, but what are some of the important things, the positives that we need to hang on to? Remember, we've got the vaccine, and now we've learned more. Do you have any other suggestions for people to accept maybe things aren't as bad as we sometimes find ourselves falling into? Because I really do think we as a people fall into the negative so easily. The positive, what would you say in a positive way about what's going on today?
Well, the vaccine is being rolled out. Scientists all over the world have found the vaccine. We have 4 vaccines now that are going to be that are being tested, and that have been tested and are going to be used. We have to look at the positives. We're all going to we're going to be getting vaccinated to be able to go back to some normalities, being able, like, to hug your mom, right? To, like, hug your grandmother. My grandmother's 91. I haven't been able to hug her since last year, since the pandemic. Like, we have to look at the positives of moving, of being able to work again and to live in a more normal state as a, even as a society, as a community.
It's a tough word,
It's
but
a
it
tough one. It's a tough one.
comes back again, counselor. Patience. We're not very patient sometimes. But really, can we blame people? It's been over a year, and I don't think anybody thought, last January and February that we'd still be wrestling with this issue. So, in fairness to people who've lost their patience, we understand, right? We
We
can
understand. Absolutely. I mean, no one wanted to be in this situation, and no one wants to be in the lockdown. But I mean, the numbers show that this is where, if we need, this is where we need to be at the moment. We have to trust our medical practitioners and the people that give us the advice. And if it takes us a little bit longer to be able uh, to be in the way that we are, so that way we don't have a third lockdown. I mean, this is what we have to do. We have to listen to the advice of our medical practitioners.
Yeah, another thing that you can agree or disagree, this is up to you, but we've become more socially aware because of this pandemic. We've had less distractions because we don't go to as many places, where now we've become very aware of some of the social issues we have to deal with.
There are social issues. There are issues that we have to deal with, and there are issues that we've seen. We have issues in our city that we've noticed. Like we have issues with our homelessness. We have to have we have to shelter people, have people, everyone being safe because of, and we've noticed it now because of COVID. It is a lot more noticeable.
Another thing that I've noticed, I don't know if you've noticed it, we're, because of COVID and because of the measures that we have taken, whether you like the measures, whether you perform them 100% of the time, I'm speaking to the general public, there has been a byproduct of good that's come from it, because now I believe we've had the least cases of the ordinary flu, because of the way we haven't been interacting with people. People are not as sick as they might have been.
It's less interactions, but it's also been that we've done our general what we always needed to do, as they've said, wash your hands, like wear your mask. That way that way germs don't spread, right? So we've seen that we've had the least amount of colds this year than we ever had,
It's amazing, isn't it?
right?
It's the lessons that we could learn. It's not all because of the negative. There's some, again, I don't want to refer as anything to do with COVID as being positive, but just in the tiny sense of through the bad comes things that you've learned that maybe will, moving forward, will help us to have a better life once we go back to normal. What's the primary thing you're looking forward to? This is a personal question now, and I need you to be honest. What are you looking forward to the most once COVID's done?
Well, actually, even before COVID is done, I'm looking forward for my wedding on May 9th.
Well, oh my goodness. Well, we didn't talk about the wedding at all. You waited till this moment, so I
Oh.
wouldn't have much time to quiz you on it. Well, listen, congratulations. The wedding that you have on that mention, and it's actually part of the COVID thing. Many of people, we have seen people die close to us. There
Mhm.
have been many deaths that we've experienced in the past year as a society, as a group, as individuals. And I think the toughest thing that we've had to deal with is being unable to say goodbye. In your case, the wedding is hello, but to say goodbye to people that we love and care about, and not even give the people around them the simplest of support. It is so tragic and
It
painful.
is, and it is, and I've seen it. I've seen it with family members, with my own family, where we had one death in the family. We had family friends that passed away too because of COVID, and it's difficult. You cannot say your goodbyes to people that you've grown up with, They've known you basically since you were in the crib, and it's
We
difficult.
we have talked about a lot, and yes, I have had to. I've had to say goodbye on the telephone. That's
Right.
the best I could do when, and in my culture, and I believe in your culture, in many cultures, the hug, at the handshake, the physical contact is the one blessing that comes, from a
Yes,
death when it comes to the community, whether it be family, friends, and the lack of that. I really do sympathize with the people who've had to struggle with that change. Now,
absolutely.
we talked about a positive event. We've got only a couple of minutes, so I won't get too into your wedding. How difficult has it been? We've got a minute left. How difficult has it been to prepare for your wedding and to plan? Because that's the world we live in today.
It has been difficult because right now stores are closed, banquet halls are closed in the sense, and and everything has to move forward. It's been difficult, but it's manageable, and looking forward to just being ecstatic for the wedding on May 9th.
Listen, congratulations, Councillor Montos. I really appreciate you joining us. I mean, we kind of hijacked you. I'm sorry you weren't totally aware that this was a 1-hour program. You're a real trooper, and you're very generous with your time. And for that, I thank you.
Thank you, Frank. Thank you to all the listeners and the viewers.
Our pleasure.
Have a
He
great weekend.
was City Councillor of Ward 22, Scarborough Agincourt, Nicolas Mantos. Thank you for joining us. I'm Candid Frank Stanisci. Thank you for watching Open Forum, seen live Fridays at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. This show can also be heard on the Spanglish World Radio Network. For Open Forum, other news, entertainment, and sports programming we offer, please check out spanglishworld.ca. Spanglish World. Watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it. Thank you for watching. I'm Candid Frank. For the counselor, have a